Hello and welcome to another Bones V Kickstarter review. Today we'll be looking at the fourth set of add-ons that I managed to pick up, and as the title suggests, we'll be looking at the encounter The Dwarf King's Crypt, the add-on Fantasy Dinos, and the Dragonslayers Powerup. Now only the Fantasy Dinos are still available in the PM, but that just means the rest will be heading to retail soon. If you're interested in acquiring them or any other Kickstarter item, scan the QR code at the end of the video or visit pm.reapermini.com or reapermini.com for more information. If this is your first time seeing a review in this series, I have many more deep dives on my channel for you to check out. But you can get to them quicker by clicking the card in the corner of the video or by checking out the links in the description. Alright, now without further ado, on with the review. The Dragonslayers Powerup was a 4-mini collection that Reaper added into the Pledge Manager well after the campaign had concluded. Some of the figures in this set are recast, like this wizard here. So if you already have him or the dragon, which is also a recast, then maybe this add-on wasn't something that was a big selling point for you. I didn't actually have these though, so for me that wasn't going to be a problem. But other than this wizard, what else are we getting? Well, we're getting this kind of familiar looking fighter paladin. I feel like I've seen this sort of figure multiple times at this point. I don't know if it's just the helmet being the same as on a couple of other minis, or if this really is depicting the same character. At any rate, it's unique enough to stand on its own. Like, it has this nice owl pattern shield. I haven't seen that on any other minis. And the armor etching is a unique factor that I just don't see on a ton of other Reaper figures of this sort. This figure also looks kind of familiar, but I think that's just because it's a bit more of a tropey figure. Yeah, so this is a scantily clad dual-wielding barbarian with a big axe and a massive sword. Well, let's just hope this isn't a fire-breathing dragon that she's fighting, or, well, she'll probably be toast. But hey, just go into a rage and all that damage will be halved. And finally, we have the star of the set, I suppose, the dragon, which seems to be somewhere between Wormling and Young Dragon, making the morality of these Dragon Slayers perhaps somewhat questionable. The dragon is nice looking, if, kind of just a typical dragon, but hey, it's got a cool sculpt, and you can see right here the original sculptor of this actually left their name on there, which I didn't notice until I had this in my hand just as I was filming this review. Now, my particular dragon has developed a kind of lean to one side, but, it's fine. It's a fine figure. Still, with 2 out of the 4 items being recasts, one of which is the big piece of the set, and it being kind of on the smaller side, I'll have to give this set an 8.5 out of 12. Anyone who knows me knows that this add-on was one of the first ones I've ever put in my cart. That's right, it's the Fantasy Dinos add-on. It's an 8-figure collection of archetypal fantasy figures depicted as dinosaur folk. First one up is an armorback, or an ankylosaurus, cleric. It's on par with the other armorbacks we've seen in previous sets, and the tanky support role works well with this character, which is essentially an armored tank. Seems fitting to give an ankylosaur a mace or a maul or club as a weapon too, given the club tail. They also gave it a nice outfit and a big old holy book under the shoulder, which really fits with the class. Up is the spine tail or Stegosaurus barbarian. It's the only one of its kind that we've seen so far, and I'm a big supporter of the style they've gone with. It really lends itself to a hulking barbarian sort of look. What with the little head on the big body and the big old tail and the big old hands and legs. It's just a pretty big imposing figure. I like the use of the massive hammer as a weapon. A creature such as this certainly wouldn't need anything spiked, as their tail would have that part covered. My favorite little touch about it, though, is that the flat side of the hammer seems to have a symbol roughly resembling the thagomizer of a Stegosaurus tail. That's just neat. While I'm up here, though, I do have to wonder How does this thing put on the clothes that it's wearing? What does it do about the plates? Instead of dwelling on that, let's move on to the Skywing Rogue, aka the Pteranodon Rogue. The Reaper has typecast these flying reptiles into rogues, as the Daimyo Skywing was also a rogue, in that case a ninja. Speaking of which, this figure is a lot bigger or taller than the other one. Check out the Daimyo review for a proper look at it and the other dinosaur folk within. I like the little bandolier of throwing daggers this guy has and the little cap on its crest. If I had wings though, I would be a little wary of holding a dagger up against them like that. Even if the wings maybe aren't functional for flight, it still doesn't seem too safe. Next we have the Blacktooth Paladin. Although I guess they could also be a fighter. They're the Tyrannosaurid of the bunch. Pretty heavily armored, as you'd probably expect of a paladin. It's got a neat shield with what looks like a serpent or a worm on it. Not sure what that represents, but I guess it could be some kind of dragon dino god. My sword got a little bent, but the weird thing about it is actually the embellishments on the lower half. I don't know what that is or what purpose that serves. It seems like that would make using the blade harder, but it does look cool, so there's that. I'm not a sword expert, so if that thing makes total sense, then awesome. Moving on, we have the Blood Crest, or Parasaurolophus Wizard. We've got another type of this particular species in the Daimyo set as well. I really like the addition of the open face book on this figure. Make a great painting surface for some freehand art. Overall, just a cool wizard mini that happens to be a dinosaur. Then there's the Thunderfoot, or Triceratops Sorcerer. This is the smallest Thunderfoot we've gotten from Reaper. It's not so diminutive that it looks incorrectly scaled. It's just noticeably much shorter than either the Bones V Tribal version or the Daimyo version. Bit more going on with this one than the Bloodcrest, with the spell effects and the things hanging around the belt. Very neat looking character, and it's good to see these species in more than just big melee roles. On the contrary, we have an Ebon Talon, or a Raptor, fighter. I don't believe we've seen one of these in a fantasy context before. From the front, one could mistake this as a Blacktooth, but it does have a longer snout and a pair of raised raptor claws on its feet that the Tyrannosaurus lacks. It's got a pretty impressive battle axe and a nice, long, unique looking tail, unlike any of the other dinosaur folks, which seem to have the same tail repeated. Let's see more new dinosaur folk like that, and this fleet-scaled ranger, which is also a newcomer. I'm less sure which dinosaur this represents, probably a Suchomiimid or a Baryonyx. Maybe it's not a dino at all, maybe it's just a croc person. I don't know. My bolt is a little bent, but that's nothing Hot Bath and Ice Dip won't fix. And it is nice that it does actually have an arrow knocked, although I don't see a quiver or anything on its person, so maybe that was something they overlooked. That's a bit of a shame, but it's still good to get more new, interesting dino folk. Overall, this is a good, if very niche set. This add-on gets a 10.4 out of 12 from me. Our last add-on of the video is the encounter, the Dwarf King's Crypt. It's a story of a group of Dwarven adventurers delving into a tomb to stop a Dwarven ghost king. A king who's raising an army of dead dwarves, apparently. Speaking of which, we get 3 zombie Dwarven Thanes. You know, we really don't get enough zombie dwarves, or really zombie anything other than human for that matter. It would have been really nice if we got more than 3 of these, but the 3 we get all are pretty cool. You can still make out the, Dwarven attire that they're wearing and, their glorious beards, but it still would have been nice if we got a proper horde. As cool as these are, numbers are kind of the thing with zombies. For better numbers, though, we'll look to the Dwarven heroes of the set. They all have names if you care to know them, but there's a lot of them, so I'm not going to list them all off here. And they all look like they could be any kind of generic Dwarven character anyways. Speaking of which, I think it's a bit of a shame that almost all of these have the fighter barbarian look, with a few exceptions, like this hooded figure here. Seems like a possible ranger. We've got a really neat shield as well with this, looks like a dwarven face on there. I wonder if that's a god of some sort. These are all excellent sculpts, each with their own unique character, but maybe it would have been nice if we also got a wizard or a ranged dwarf. Or maybe something with equipment designed for traversing tombs or something like that. That said, I wouldn't want to miss out on any of these sculpts. Reaper's style of dwarf models is one of my favorites, and frankly there aren't enough of them. So I'll take as many as I can get, however they come. As there were only like 3 other dwarves in this entire Kickstarter though, with only 2 of those really fitting in with this troop, it is a bit of a shame that we didn't get any grander variety, but I get it. I get what they were going for, and again, these are really nice looking sculpts. But as nice as they are not what make this a Crypt set. That would fall to the scatter terrain, like this, the ever-living flame. It's a very nice clear piece. There's enough hollow space for an LED in there too if you wanted to make this a lighting effect. This here is Durham's Ledger. Durham is the ghostly king whose crypt we're raiding. It's a nice big dwarven book with a nice big dwarven bookmark. Glad to have it. And then we have the biggest terrain piece, the archway. I think it sets the stylistic tone for the rest of the pieces. It's got a lot of runes etched along the pillars. I don't know what they mean or if they mean anything, but it's a neat detail nevertheless. Now the archway is neat, but my favorite terrain piece is easily this statue. I wish we got multiple of these. It's exactly the sort of thing I'd look for when building out a dwarven tomb or stronghold. There's little runes on this figure too, and boy does he have some crazy looking eyes. No wonder he was referred to as Durham the Mad. Yeah, this is a great piece that I could use in any number of situations with a dwarven context. But our final and perhaps most important terrain piece is the one of the dead guy himself. We have the Dwarf King's sarcophagus. It's a really nice lid on this, a good likeness. More nice dwarven runes too. The best part is, though, that it is removable. And there he is, the dead Dwarf King. Looks like they just chucked him in there. Oh, we can chuck him right back out because that piece is removable. Yeah. Doesn't really stand on its own though because it's shaped to fit in the container, but you know, if you really wanted to build up a base around it to just use like this, you very well could. I don't know if Durham would appreciate that though, and seeing as he has risen from the dead, maybe we shouldn't disturb him. But yes, this is the final figure, the ghost of Dwarf King Durham the Mad. I don't think this figure really even needs to be painted except maybe with some light blue highlights. The choice to cast this in an ethereal blue was a great move, and I much prefer this over the clear casting. If you recall back to my Brinewind video, I didn't particularly enjoy the clear, pure color on the Ghost Pirate Captain. It was very hard to make out the detail. Not a problem with this one though. Plus it has these little wisps coming off of it that really sell the "this is a ghost" aspect of the figure. Yeah, it's a great thing to end the set on, and definitely a worthy looking big bad figure. Now this add-on isn't in the Pledge Manager anymore, so it might be a while before you can get these figures, but as Reaper has stated, if it's not in the Pledge Manager, it's probably heading to retail soon, and I'd keep an eye out for these items when they appear. I give this set an 11.6 out of 12. My only real negatives is I didn't get more. And with that, we conclude our 4th set of add-on reviews. Quite a lot of figures in today's episode. Which one of them was your favorite? Which set was your favorite, for that matter? Let me know your answers to that and more in the comments down below. You can expect many more of these shorter form review videos to come, where I will break down nearly every add-on from this Kickstarter. For the bigger sets of figures, be sure to check out the review playlist for the core set and the expansions. And if you see anything in here, head to pm.reapermini.com, scan that QR code, or head to reapermini.com for more information. If you found the video helpful, enjoyable, or some other adjective, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Seeing your support really, genuinely makes my day. Alrighty. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Let's go paint some minis.